morning. So good to be here on this beautiful day. And we are completing a series today, which we have been going through for a while, on letting go of the different kinds of emotional baggage that you have in your life that sometimes weighs you down. And today we saved the worst for last, okay? This one has caused a lot of issues in our world today: jealousy, envy, and comparison. You know, this happens a lot. I'll just say a few things. Jealousy, it can destroy a friendship. It can dissolve a romance between a young couple. It can destroy a marriage. It can shoot tension between employees in a work environment. It can screw up any sense of unity in a sports team. It can foster bitterness and ugliness in the dining room table in a family. It can create chaos in a university dorm. It happens in churches. In fact, there's virtually no place in which jealousy is unable to do its dreadful work. I went to get a present for my wife the other day, and we went to this. I've never been in this place before. It was like called Ultra. Is that the name of it? Ultra is that the name of it? What's the name of it, Sharon? Ulta. Okay, sorry. Anyway, it's a makeup store, you know, and you go in there and everything is super bright and lots of mirrors and a lot of these, they've got these posters up everywhere, pictures of these beautiful, perfect women, you know, and I guess that's what your goal is, you know, and I'm thinking about what pressure that is, and I thought about this weekend because we went to visit my son, and his wife, Alyssa, is a clinical dietitian in a facility for people who have eating disorders, which a lot of them are young girls. And, you know, we have these images that we teach people to envy. We teach people you need to look like this. And often those pictures are, touched up, you know? And so even those people who they took pictures of, it's not like that. You know, there's Proverbs 27:4 says this: anger is cruel and fury is overwhelming. They're both bad, but who can stand before what? Jealousy. Jealousy is an infection in your mind. It's an infection in your life if you let it go. Now, there is a difference, a slight difference between jealousy and envy, and sometimes we mix them up. So let's talk a minute about that. What's the difference? Envy is the feeling of wanting what somebody else has. If I look out in their parking lot and I say, boy, I would really like that convertible or whatever, I want it. That's envy. Jealousy is when you feel threatened, protective, or fearful about losing something, okay? And so it's a little bit different, but they're kind of twins, and I don't know that it makes that much difference. Jealousy centers negative focus on the person who has the thing that you don't, and envy is more centered on the desire for the thing. For instance, if you want your neighbor's new red sports car convertible, that's envy. If your new neighbor is a beautiful blonde woman who takes your husband out for a ride, you feel jealousy. Jealousy is usually thought to be more negative because it often involves resentment toward the other person. And so I want to kind of focus more on the jealousy aspect, but it includes the envy aspect. So I want to talk about the characteristics of jealousy, and then I want to talk about what are the consequences of jealousy, and then what's the cure of jealousy. So first, the characteristics of jealousy. First of all, jealousy can't stand it when other people are doing better. That's the way it works. When somebody is doing better than you, suppose you have a best friend and you're in school, and they study a whole lot less than you do, and you read the book and you study it and take notes and all that. They read it maybe once quickly. They make an A on the test. You make a B minus. How do you feel? Not fair. This is in the Bible. All these things are in the Bible. In Genesis 26, Isaac planted crops in the land that same year, reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. And so Isaac went into this new land and he planted, had a great crop. And the man became rich and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. So he became wealthy. And he had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. They were jealous of him. And so what did they do? So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filled them with dirt. It led to that kind of thing. And that's kind of what jealousy does. It can't stand it when somebody else is doing better. Second, jealousy is sad at the happiness of others. You're sad because somebody else is doing good. Look at the story of the prodigal son. Remember the prodigal son? The younger brother run away from home. He gone off to a distant land. He wasted everything his dad had given him. He made a dreadful mess out of things. He ended up in a pigsty. He decided to come home with a repentant heart. He came anticipated that he's going to live in the shed and work for his dad. But his father celebrated. They had a great party for him, bought him a whole new outfit, shoes for his feet, ring for his finger, great steak dinner for everybody. And the older brother, upset. And at the end of the story, older brother is outside, wouldn't even come into the party. It says, older brother answered his father, look, all these years I've been slaving for you. I never disobeyed your orders. You never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate my friends. But when this son of yours, who squandered his property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him. He is jealous of his brother getting what's his. And this is kind of like it is. You're jealous when somebody does better than you. There was an actor once that was a pretty famous actor. He said whenever he saw Sir Laurence Olivier play Hamlet, he died a little bit. Because he knew he couldn't do that. And of course, this doesn't happen with preachers. Once there was a pastor who had a great reputation for being a holy person. And his reputation reached hell itself, whereupon the devil took 3 of his key demons to try and test the preacher. And when they reached the pastor's office, they found him sitting behind the desk with a serene look on his face, kind of like I am all the time. The first demon walked up to the preacher and went in the back of him and planted in his mind the temptation of great power with visions of becoming a famous politician with lots of fans and attention, but the face of the preacher remained serene and at peace. Didn't work. Second demon walked behind the preacher and planted a temptation in his mind of great wealth. Visions of silver and gold and all the money he could have, but the face of the pastor remained serene and at peace. The third demon walked up behind the preacher and planted in his mind the temptation of sensuous pleasure, visions of beautiful women, but the pastor remained serene and at peace. Annoyed, the devil barked, step aside, I'll show you what has never failed. He strolled beside the preacher. He leaned over and he whispered, have you heard the news? Your old classmate, John Henry, he's just been named pastor of the 10,000 member First Baptist Church of Orlando, Florida. And the pastor scowled. Never underestimate the power of jealousy. Jealousy can infect us. And we're unhappy with somebody who does well. Third, jealousy makes us hostile towards those who've never harmed us. Remember the story of Joseph? Joseph, he really didn't do that much to his brothers, but his brothers hated him because his father loved him and gave him that nice coat. And it says in Genesis 37:4, when his brothers saw that his father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him, could not speak peaceably to him, went on to, well, they're going to kill him, but they end up selling him into slavery. Why? Jealousy. 4, jealousy can make you cruel. Okay? Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6 says, set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm, for love is as strong as death, jealousy as cruel as the grave. Its flames are flames of fire, a most vehement fire. I mean, you think of the story of Cain and Abel, early story in the Bible. Cain upset because Abel's offering was accepted by God and his wasn't. And it says Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. And the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? He says, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? Just an evil thing to do. I mean, you even think about it. What was the first sin? They were in paradise. Adam and Eve had everything. Paradise. Beautiful. Perfect weather. Got along with the animals. No mosquitoes, I don't think. Anyway, lots of good things. And yet, the serpent says, you ain't got this. You don't have the tree from the knowledge of the good and evil. And they envied it. They went after it. First sin. 4, jealousy fails to recognize what God knows, that God knows what he's doing when he apportions gifts. You ever look at somebody and say, how come that they're so good looking and I'm not? How come they still got hair, I don't got hair? How come they're so smart? How come they got so much money? Listen, God gives what he does to us. 1 Corinthians, Paul says this, for who makes you different from anyone else? What do you have that you did not receive? And if you did receive it, why do you boast as though you did not? God gives gifts, and he apportions gifts. He's made you exactly the way he wants you to be made. That's just the way it is. And if you're not tall enough to dunk a basketball, that's just it. Okay. What are the consequences of jealousy? What does it lead to? I think we underestimate the consequences of jealousy. A lot of people say, well, I'm just jealous. That's all it is. That's just the way it is. I'm just jealous. Listen, jealousy is a sin, and it is bad. Number 1, jealousy will rot your bones. Okay? Proverbs 14:30 says, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but what? Envy rots the bones. I mean, it can destroy you. I read this account by Henry Nouwen, who was talking about, he was familiar with some of the musicals and went on in New York, and he said backstage, you would be surprised. It would be a musical about love and how they were in love with each other, these two characters in the musical, and then behind the stage, when the lights went down, they hated each other. They were jealous of each other, how one got more time than the other. And so in the front of everybody, everything looks loving, but behind the scenes, it was a terrible environment. And it just rotted the community, it rotted the people, I think of, this is embarrassing, but I'll tell it anyway. Okay, so I go every once a year, play golf with my brothers. And most of the time when I play golf, I always just root for the other people around me. But when I play with my brothers, I want to beat them. Okay, so he hit the ball, and they hit it, and it bounces off the green. And I'm thinking, go off, go off, go off. And it gets down in the rough, and I think, sink in the rough. And then I tell them, oh, you can get up and down, but I'm thinking, But we do that. And it can rot you, though. And we were having that experience one time, and my brother-in-law got sick of us talking to each other like that. He said, okay, that's it. We're just out here to have fun. And, before I knew it, I'd been sucked into that jealousy thing. 2, jealousy will lead you to unwanted suspicion and anger toward other people. A jealous heart is a suspicious heart, and ultimately an angry heart. There's a story of Saul, who was the king, and David, who was the newcomer. And they came back from a big battle, and these women were chanting a song over and over again. And in 1 Samuel 8-7, the women were chanting, Saul has slain his thousands, Saul has slain his thousands, Saul has slain his thousands. And then they started chanting and singing, David his 10,000s, David his 10,000s. And every time they said 10,000s, Saul went, ugh. Became very jealous and angry. 3, jealousy breeds a destructive, critical spirit. I'm not going to go through it, but remember the story of Daniel in the Bible? Daniel, he was succeeding beyond all the people who were the wise men, and the king loved Daniel, and the satraps, and they devised to hurt Daniel. He didn't do anything wrong, but they were planning to hurt him. They wanted him hurt because this critical spirit had come out of this jealousy. 4, jealousy will ruin your spiritual appetite. If you've been wondering why you're not getting much out of the Bible lately, or why you go to church and it seems stale to you, and you find your hunger for God's word is diminished, and you're not really into it, and it's kind of like eating stale donuts, okay? I shouldn't talk about donuts so much, but stale toast, okay? You come to worship and your heart is heavy and cold, maybe because you got some of this going on in your life. 1 Peter 2, 1-3 says, therefore we should lay aside malice, deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and evil speaking. And what we should do is be like newborn babies. Desire the pure milk of the word of God, that you may grow thereby, if indeed you have tasted that the Lord is gracious. And so jealousy can ruin your spiritual appetite. It can do all these things, make you destructive. It can rot your soul. So, the cure. What happens if you have it? Well, here's some of the things. First off, recognize it as a sin. We have a tendency not to do that. Just say, it is what it is. I'm that way. No, this is a sin. It is wrong. It is a big deal. It's ironic to me that every other sin in the Bible gives you some kind of pleasure when you do it. For a time. This one doesn't even give you pleasure. And yet it's the most powerful one. You got to recognize that it is sin. It's not good. It's envy is consuming to you. And so you got to recognize first that you got a problem. Be mindful. Say, okay, I got a problem. Second, bring it into God's presence. Say, God, I recognize that I feel envy or jealous of my brother, jealous of my sister, I feel this jealousy about somebody at work, and I need your help. You recognize it as sin, ask God to help you. God wants to help you. He knows what's going on in your thoughts. Don't hide it. Say, God, here it is. Take it from me. 3, stop comparing yourself to others. Oh, don't go in that beauty store with all those. Don't buy those women's magazines. Don't do whatever else. Don't go into the new motorcycle shop and smell all of them, okay? Whatever it is, it tempts you. Don't compare yourself to other people and say, boy, if I only had that, if I only had that. That is not healthy for you, and what you're supposed to do instead, and this is the true antidote. count your blessings. Be thankful for what you got, for what God has given you. This has been going around on Facebook for a while. Have you seen this one before? It says this: someone else is dreaming of the job that you hate, the home you complain about, the smile you forget to wear, and the health you take for granted. Don't let difficult times make you forget your blessings. You want to get over jealousy, envy? Be thankful. Make a list. Lord, thank you for this. Thank you for this. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my sons. Thank you for my house. Thank you for my car. Thank you for my church. Thank you for the Bible. Thank you. Just go through them. Fill your mind with that. And this last one, to me, is the biggest. Remember the grace of God. You do not have to earn anything to please God. Romans 5:8 says this: but God showed us his great love for us by sending Christ to die for us while we were still sinners. The wonder of Christianity is that we don't have to earn acceptance. We don't have to compare ourselves to others, that God comes in while we're sinners and forgives us and cleanses us and cleans us. What a beautiful thing that is. If you really get the grace of God today, you walk away different. Jealousy won't be that temptation for you. Envy won't be that temptation because you realize God gives me what I need. Jealousy can rot your bones. It can destroy your church. It can tear friendships apart. It can marginalize marriages. But if you understand the grace of God and how much he loves you, it can change your life. May God deal with us gently, purposefully, and profitably.